Brothers Talit and Ahmad Ahmad have never seen the sea here. To look at it, you'd think boys like this have been grazing their goats for thousands of years in this harsh desert landscape. But you'd be wrong. 30 years ago, this desert didn't exist. This was the Aral Sea.
At school, our teachers told us what the Aral was like before. They showed us pictures and maps.
This is the dried-up seabed of the Aral Sea, once the fourth largest freshwater lake in the world. It used to be the size of Ireland. It supported thousands of fishermen who sailed between over 1,100 islands separated by lagoons and narrow straits.
There
were a lot of fish. My father was a fisherman. When he and my uncles got out of the army in 1948, they'd leave in the morning in 2 boats. They'd net 200 metric tons of fish by evening.
75-year-old Pyotr Ivanovich Bochkov was the chief engineer of the canning works here in Moynac. When the sea used to reach this town, it provided work and living for some 30,000 people.
When the sea was here, the west wind would blow. The shoreline was nearby. It was fresh and clean, like a resort.
Now, that sea is 250 kilometers away. The canning factory is an abandoned ruin. And most of the people are gone. The Aral Sea was a vast oasis in the desert on the Silk Road, the trading route that linked China to Europe. From space, it's easy to see that the Aral is the most important reserve of water in this vast Central Asian desert. And it's vanishing. This photo was taken in 1973, this one in 1987, and this one in 2000. 80% of the Aral Sea has dried up. It's split in half. This catastrophe is the result of arrogant human engineering. The major rivers that fed the Aral were diverted into leaky irrigation canals to serve thirsty cotton farms. The Aral slid into a disastrous spiral of decline. The dried seabed is now called the Aralkum Desert. It's about 45,000 square kilometers, bigger than the Great Salt Desert in Utah, bigger than Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands combined. As the sea dries, decades of agricultural and industrial pollution are left behind. Now, when the wind blows, deadly dust storms of salt, sand, and chemical pesticides destroy plant, animal, and human lives.
All the fruit trees are dead, and they're never coming back. Grass used to grow here. It's all gone.
There are likely to be heavy metals and DDT in this cloud. Dust from the Aral blows high into the atmosphere contributing to climate change. And it travels far. Pesticides from the Aral have been found as far away as the South Pole, in the blood of penguins. And here in nearby Moynac, the former fishing port, the catastrophe has brought an epidemic of tuberculosis and other illnesses.
Everybody here is ill. The children all have anemia. We don't have proper food, there's no money, and we don't get any aid. Everybody here is suffering from anemia. Us too. But never mind, we're still alive.
In some places, infant mortality rates have doubled. Acute respiratory diseases account for almost 1/2 of all child deaths. Liver and kidney diseases are becoming more common, as are some types of cancer. Experts think the southern half of the Aral Sea will be completely evaporated within 20 years. Which is why efforts are now focused on trying to lessen the worst effects of the catastrophe. One weapon is a desert-loving local tree called the saxaul.
How do we plant the saxaul? If you just plant the saxaul, it won't grow. Why? Take a look. The soil here is full of salt. You need to break up this salty crust. Here we dug a trench last autumn, and we filled it with clean sand. The saxaul will grow nicely here. See the difference? It's all salty here, and here it's nice and clean.
These saplings will grow fast and spread. In just 4 years, the roots of each tree will hold down several tons of sand. The idea isn't to forest the entire desert, but to protect the most threatened populations.
Behind me you can see where a natural wood is growing between the rows we planted. You can hear birdsong here. In the north, there's not even a living plant, never mind birds or other animals. That shows what human hands can do.
Projects like this are a small way to lessen the impact of the Aral crisis on local people and the rest of the world. This is regional climate change. The waters of the Aral used to warm icy winds from Siberia and reduce the summer heat. Now, summers are hotter, drier and shorter. Winters are longer and colder. While the world worries, rightly, about what melting polar caps will bring to our populated coastlines, people here are dying for lack of water.
The paradox is that other people are threatened by water. The oceans are rising, aren't they? But here, water levels are falling. The sea has dried up. It's a paradox, isn't it?